discuss the validity of Blue Velvet as a classic and a career changing film for Laura Dern and David Lynch. I don't see it, and I'll explain why as I get into this movie review, so let's get into it. I think this movie is meh. Like, it's really leaning towards more, weird, I would say, rather than good or bad. It's just a very weird movie. I guess one of the big things about this movie is that people found it disturbing. I don't know. I thought this, like, it was a little bit disturbing, but not in the way that, like, it tried to come across. And I think you can skip out on this movie, especially it's been probably what, 40 years since this movie came out, which is crazy to say the 80s are 40 years away at this point. I'm all set with this one. Like, I thought this was a very weird movie. I'm not going to rewatch it. We'll get to my score at the end, but I don't know. Going through some of the story, like bigger plot points or bigger points I had in this movie, I thought this was an interesting concept. Like, okay, this guy finds an ear. Then after that, it devolves. It was really not executed in a way that I enjoy or like I'm looking for in movies, and maybe it's just a personal taste thing. Come at me if you will. I don't care. I'm gonna have my opinion, and that's that. But this main character, bro, Jeffrey, I despised him. Like, I didn't like him. He was very like cringe. He was very stupid, I thought. He was not making smart, sound decisions throughout the movie. He's kind of just like all over the place. And I guess, some people like those types of main characters. I guess if you're a Kyle MacLachlan fan, who I've actually never heard of before this movie, shockingly, then like that's your thing. But this character was a dumbass, and it was hard to watch and like root for him through these scenes. And there was just multiple moments of me being like despising him, which I'll get into in my thoughts and reactions section. Question the motive of the characters. Why are him and Sandy so invested in this? Like, Sandy's in a whole ass school with a whole ass boyfriend. Seemingly it's like the summertime, like school's about to wrap up, she's about to graduate and shit. Like, I think they went to a prom during this movie. Why does she care about a fucking ear in a field? Because her dad's a detective, all of a sudden she wants to be like an investigator? Why do they care so much? And like, yeah, I was thinking about this earlier of like when I'm making this argument in my head, like there would be in a movie if they didn't care so much. But it's like, at least build it up a little bit where he's like, I found the ear, and then he goes and shows the detective in like a fucking poop bag, and the detective's like, oh, it's interesting. Like, I'll get back to you on that. And then Laura Dern, Sandy, just appears out of fucking nowhere and is like, oh, you're the one who found the ear, eh? We like lived next to each other, but we never like hung out or did anything together. So let's like solve murders together. And like, I don't know, like, it wasn't even a murder, I don't think. I just didn't understand why they were so invested in it. One strong point I did like was Frank. I thought Frank was an awesome villain. Like, he's just fucking screaming throughout the entire movie. Some of the stuff with Dorothy is obviously, we don't like that, but him basically hanging out with Jeffrey for like the last third of the movie was so funny. Like, bringing him to the singer, I think his name is Ben, and he's just a very odd like character in the concept of like he needs to hear these people sing, and he gets like high off gas and shit, whatever he's inhaling. I didn't even bother to look up what he's fucking inhaling with the gas mask, but him just like being a neighbor and like screaming out loud. Like, I thought he was an awesome villain. Wasn't rooting for him even, but I liked his like presence as a villain, and the way they did his character, so I didn't mind that part. Some of the stuff with Dorothy as well was interesting. Like, I'm sure this is like people do like a deep dive into like the sexuality of women, and like, do people like this? Like, she was I don't want to get canceled for saying it this way, so I'm gonna try and word my words carefully. She was like sexually assaulted, essentially, I believe. Like, I believe that's what was happening. But then she like wants to do the same sort of sexual stuff with Jeffrey. So like that's kind of an interesting dichotomy of stuff where like she's got the knife. Like, that was probably one of my favorite scenes of like her getting him out of the closet, and then like, she's like basically having away with him. I thought that was like an interesting play on what we just saw happen, and it was cool. Very weird moments happening throughout the movie. There's like a one scene where there's just like a demon roar, and there's a lot of like weird sounds made. I didn't love the music choice either. It felt pretty cheesy. And then I don't know if that's the problem with the movie like this. Is like, is this movie trying to be serious, or is this movie trying to be a meme in the 80s? It's really hard to digest that. I think this movie's trying to be serious from all I've read from it. And then that just adds in like all the goofy aspects of it, and like the stuff that just kind of takes you out of it to be like, what was this here for? All that being said, pretty harsh criticism, but I thought this movie was entertaining enough. It could be a lot worse. Like it is decently captivating just to see what happens. So it's not like I'm turning this off. I'm not, scrolling my phone through the movie. Like it was a capable enough watch, and we'll get into my score later on. So that's kind of my big overview on the movie. We'll transition now to my thoughts and reactions of the film, starting with the beginning, which is a very interesting opening scene. It's a character we really spend little time with. It ends up being Jeffrey's father, who has a stroke in the driveway. And like I was really confused what happened here. He got choked out from a hose getting caught, and then there's scorpions everywhere on the bottom. Like that's what I was like, the subliminal messaging in this movie. Like, was this like an open call to like join the Illuminati or something? Like I think I was missing on a message here. Uh, it was just odd. Like there's scorpions, and the scorpions never reappear really, unless I'm forgetting something. Like this opening scene was kind of just like weird because if you know a little, I do like to read a little bit about the movie, basically just that little description they have on Letterboxd or like wherever you find your movies, TV Time. I do like to know what I'm getting myself into at times. Sometimes I'll go blind, but I was like, oh, a man finds a thing in a field, so I was like, oh, this guy's dead, and they're gonna take his ear. But no, it's just Jeffrey's dad getting choked out, which is an interesting choice for an opening scene. Jeffrey finds it from just being like a bored teenager. We need to talk about Jeffrey, by the way. He's back home from school to like help take care of his dad. He doesn't do anything. Like he works in the shop for like one day and then just goes to like call Sandy. Like he's a terrible employee helping him to take care of the shop. I'm assuming he was in control. Those two gentlemen who worked in the shop, one of them was blind, I believe. Like they were doing much more work than Jeffrey was, and he's home on break, just trying to bang Sandy and bang Dorothy and find this mystery. Poor dad. Poor dad's just on the mend right now. So he brings this to the officer. I believe his name is Officer Williams. That could be wrong. This is a straight officer-friendly situation. He learns about the ear. He's like, "Thank you, Jeffrey, for your input and information. I will try and solve this." Where I actually came out of this scene thinking this wasn't going to be a too good to be true scene, where he walks outside and there's this guy who might be blind as well. Like what? I think I'm missing it. Someone let me know. Let me read me the filth in the comments and what I'm missing on this one, because she walks outside and there's a blind guy. So like there's a theme of blindness, there's a theme of scorpions, there's a theme of like roaring demons in the background. I don't know what I'm missing here. But I thought this was like a too good to be true situation where, he brings an ear randomly to the detective. And the detective's like, nice work, Jeffrey, like, yahoo. And I'll solve this for you and we'll let you know. I can't tell you any of the developments, but we'll solve it and we'll let you know what happens. And then he walks outside and there's this guy walking the dog who does not move. I don't know if this was like an extra or this was intentionally left in the back, but the guy with the dog, when he walks outside, just sits there and does not move. He just does not move. I thought that was very odd, but doesn't end up meaning shit. So maybe just me overanalyzing. This is when we get to meet Sandy. She just randomly appears and is like, hey, you're the one who just brought the ear to my father. And he's like, yeah, and I'm going to do a chicken walk, which is the most cringy fucking. Oh, man. If you've listened to any of my podcasts before, I'm single, I struggle at times, I'm an awkward guy. Throw me back into the 80s, man. Let me do the chicken walk and get some riz. Like, I was born in the wrong generation. But that was just super cringe. Like, I don't know. It's like I continue on. It's like the gaffes in the movie. Are they meant to be serious? What are we doing here? Chicken walk is, I guess, a thing. And this brings me back to my question. Why are they so interested in this again when they're stalking out her apartment, making a plan to go up there? And then like he goes up there two times actually, and he just steals her key. This is all because he just found an ear that he has no attachment to himself. Father's in the hospital, by the way. And he just is like, we're going to go solve this thing. I'm really interested in seeing what happens. And why does Sandy care so much too? It's like they're wrapped up in it. I don't know. I never really understood why they care so much. It's more just like he's like bored, but like you're supposed to be running a shop right now. You're supposed to be taking care of your dad. You're also in school, so you can do some homework. I know that kind of defeats the whole concept of the movie, but like these are the type of things that are running through my mind. Maybe I have a bias against this character. I don't know. We get this heist. They pull it off. There's a bunch of things going on in Dorothy's apartment. He's able to spray it out, grab the key when someone man walks in. Then he goes in to find out what's going on, like kind of poke around and everything. He had one Heineken at the bar. And by the way, Sandy's going to honk 4 times if there's danger coming. He had a Heineken at the bar which is so, I mean, some of the stuff in this movie is laughable. That's like, it's like, are we taking this so fucking? I don't know if I was meant to take this serious, but I don't like the movies that are like half in, half out. Like if it's gonna be a gaff, make it a gaff, you know. But he has one Heineken at the bar, and then he pisses in her place, which is one of the dumbest fucking things you can possibly do. Not only because the water's gonna run, you're gonna not hear Sandy. Like that thought wasn't even probably crossing his mind, but like you're gonna put the seat up, piss all over the seat probably. Like she probably doesn't have a lot. Well, you don't know how many men she has over her place. She could walk in when you're using the bathroom with. I think he shut the door too. It's like, dude, this isn't your fucking house. This guy's a fucking dumbass. And then he runs into the closet. Like, fine, you're hiding in the closet. You know, hoping for a lucky break, right? How about when she fucking is taking a shower? That's when you run out. That's a good time to go where she's not going to be looking for you. I don't know. What do I know though? You know, he just maybe he just had fallen in love at that point, and I'm just like, what am I doing here? But I don't know. I would have ran out during the shower. I probably wouldn't have. Well, I've never would have had the balls to actually go and like walk into her place with the key. That's just beyond me, dude. Let the police do their work. I'm all good with that. I don't have a fucking criminal justice major. I'm not interested in that shit. But you know, I guess we just beg to differ there. So I thought he should have left when she showered. Like she gets all ready. Maybe he was just, you know, observing her because he does this next, wherein he just watches her. She realizes he's in there. She grabs the knife, pulls him out, makes him undress. Basically, is about to bang, and then you know he's about to get free sex from this like older, like attractive looking woman. And then this other guy comes in here to be like this alpha, so that you know she was kind of being the alpha of the situation, which is like an interesting way to that was what I was talking about at the beginning. It's an interesting way to introduce that scene because she's like being alpha to him, like, you know, hit me, like don't look at me, and that's the thing that Frank's doing to her. So it's kind of weird to see what's going on here. And then Frank keeps calling it, Frank's like baby once more, like he's like a baby to a mother. So a very weird sexual fetish out of Frank in this movie. I don't know what he's really getting out of this because Frank doesn't remove any clothes. I believe. I believe all of his clothes stay on. So it's kind of like one of those weird, like you're a tough guy, and then you go and find that they have like all these weird sexual kinks. I guess that's like the vibe we were going for, and I guess in the '80s that's probably like a big thing that nobody was like willing to talk about out loud. So I could see like how that's like revolutionizing the world and whatever. But yeah, this is just gets really weird, and this is when I think the alpha demon roar ensues, which just didn't make sense. I don't know, and then that happens. So we see like the abusive relationship she suffers through with Frank. And then that's when they kind of connect the dots that the ear's probably from her husband, and they're hiding kids because she has their pictures on the mat, pictures on the couch. No, actually, I lied. So I actually that was not the weird part. It starts getting weird when he hits her, and then the screen goes roaring. You know, that's like a blink if you miss it. Like that might have been a subliminal that I just caught. I don't know if people have not watched this movie. Let me know your thoughts down below on like the roaring scene. Like what was the significance of that? But whatever. Essentially, a lot of stuff happens. Yada yada yada. You know, nothing too really important. Essentially, they get caught because Jeffrey is having sex with Dorothy. And that's when the screen starts roaring when he gives in and hits her. When she's like, hit me. And then he fucking smacks her. Which is like, what is going on here? Are we just watching a porno? So that was very odd. So they're sleeping together, whatever, hanging out, having fun. This kid is an all time dumbass. So, like, they get caught. He's walking out after, like, having sex with her. Gets caught by Frank. She's like, oh, it's just a neighbor. Frank catches on instantly that's not just a neighbor, and Frank just like bitches him for the like last hour of this movie. Fine, whatever, you know, it's probably a bad situation regardless, but like Frank starts getting a little physical with Dorothy. Yelling to leave her alone, like that's fair, good for you for standing up, but punching Frank, this man is lucky he didn't die. Like, by the way, all the way on the situation that he shouldn't even be involved in the first place. But why would you just provoke Frank in this situation? Like Frank is just clearly an unstable character. You could just have to hope he like falls asleep somewhere. You know, his crew's like these like idiots. I don't know how you really get out of that situation, but it's not going to be by yelling to leave her alone and punching Frank when there's all of his guys around him. So he gets the absolute shit piss beat out of him. He wakes up like walking slowly, like black eyes. He's dead, but still alive. Essentially life moves on after that, basically, where the kind of goes cold for a bit, and then now that that's kind of gone cold, you know, the situation got exposed, he goes back to his other love interest, Sandy, and they go to like the prom together. Basically forces her to break up with her boyfriend, and they have a nice little dance at the prom, or dance, and Sandy says I love you after like really knowing each other for like a week. I don't know if there's back history of like them living together next to each other. You know, those situations probably happen where like you live with a neighbor and then you fall in love with them, blah, 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 blah. You've heard all about it. But to say I love you, like this is not even your, like, what? I mean, I guess if you backtrack the other times you were with alone and like at the restaurant where he orders a sandwich and she orders nothing, by the way, which I thought was weird. But she says I love you, which feels very, very early. I think they kind of just accelerated like the ending of this. We're like, all right, we gotta get on with this. Like Sandy loves him, but he loves her too, but he also loves Dorothy, because Mike, her ex boyfriend, chases them down in the car. They think it's Frank, and then when when Mike's about to like fight Jeffrey for Sandy, Dorothy's on his front lawn with naked, beat up. You know, her breasts seem to be like there's bruises on them. Both of them are just crying. It's, you know, this is the situation. Do you choose your, you know, old lover or do you choose your younger lover, like the person who just said I love you to? Um, but she's like, he put his disease in me, but she keeps saying that. He put his disease in me, and then like Sandy like realizes what's going on. I don't know. Like it's just you have to laugh, but this is like supposed to be taken seriously. I don't know. So basically, life just moves on after that, and things start ratcheting up when Jeffrey had told Frank, or not Jeffrey, not Frank. Jeffrey had told the police officer who's Sandy's dad, you know, your partner's involved in this. It's looking a little risque. Like there's shit going on, and the guy's like, "Don't say anything, Frank. Don't be a fucking dumbass." Or "Don't say anything, Jeffrey. Don't be a fucking dumbass." And then they're like working on tracking down Frank. Jeffrey goes to Dorothy's apartment and he finds the policeman who is dirty dead, and I believe Ben dead on the scene as well. So he has a police radio, realizes that Frank also has a police radio. So like he's like, I'm at Dorothy's apartment. There's two people dead here. You should come ASAP, ASAP. But he's able to like manipulate Frank by saying he's in the bedroom. Finally has a fucking smart moment of being like, I'm actually in the bedroom. And Frank's like, oh, okay, I know you're in the bedroom, dumbass. I have a police radio. And then it takes him like 10 seconds to peruse the apartment. Luckily, Jeffrey finds a gun. Frank opens the closet. Bang! Frank shot in the head. Crazy way to end it out. You know, Jeffrey's gonna have to live with taking a man's life, but you know, Frank's a piece of shit. So do what you can. Graphic, by the way, very gory on the dome piece there from Jeffrey doming Frank in the head. And my question is, the policeman busts in, but why was Sandy allowed to just tag along? You know, she's with her father and they're there on the scene. Why was she allowed to be there? You know, maybe I just was taking this movie too seriously. I don't know. But overall, you know, well, the story ends. He ends up with Sandy, and then Dorothy gets her kid back. There's not really much of details provided. I don't know how Sandy would just take him back after that. Especially she's probably going to college soon. He's in college, but you know, it might just be like a situationship. You know, I'm sure there's not going to be a Blue Velvet 2, so we'll never know what really happened. I think it's kind of just like this was like a moment in time that we're gonna all have in the back of our head, but we're like gonna try and live normally, basically. So all that being said, this movie's too clunky for me to like give it a like high score. There's just a bunch of stuff that I didn't like. I didn't love the main character. I didn't love, you know, the weirdness that happened in it. So I'm gonna give this movie a 6.6. It's not the worst watch in the world. You know, that you could watch this and be like, oh, you know, that's interesting, or you could take away certain things from it. But as an overall watch, I just didn't think that it deserved that high of a score. Like this was a very odd movie in my opinion, and you know, not really up my alley. So we're gonna go with a 6.6 on Blue Velvet. Now, where does this movie compare to the other movies reviewed so far on the channel? This is the 117th movie reviewed, and I've got this at number 100 of those 117. So it's a pretty high list of scores we got here. And of the 6.6s, this is the middle on those three that are 6.6. And in terms of actors and genres and directors, we don't have much to compare this to. We did have Dean Stockwell, who's in To Live and Die in LA, which I gave a 6.8. And I also gave Manchurian Candidate a 5.7. So this falls right in the middle of Dean Stockwell movies. And that's where we'll leave off with Blue Velvet. So what did you think of Blue Velvet? You know, this is supposed to be a classic. So what am I missing here? Let me know down below in the comments. I would love to hear your feedback and what you thought of this movie. Coming up next on the Dubcast, more movie reviews, waiting for NFL season to start. We'll be covering all the UFC numbered events. Next movie review will most likely be Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I believe, and then there's some other old ones coming out. Theaters, we'll have to wait till September till I really get back into the theaters. I feel like there's nothing really coming out that I'm super excited about. TV shows, we're still covering Silo on a week-to-week basis, and we'll see what else I decide to jump into as we progress into the fall. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for sticking all the way to the end of it. Appreciate y'all, and as always, be easy, y'all.